So a very good afternoon to you all. And so the topic is building BlackBerry 10 games, HTML5 versus AS3, ActionScript 3, ultimate face-off. So I am very passionate about HTML5, and my friend Javier, he is very passionate about AS3, and it would be a friendly fight, but like it would be a friendly fight on which is the best to build BB10 games. So first, I would like to introduce you all to HTML5 and what's in it. So HTML5 is an evolving global standard, and web has become the de facto medium. Like we all know that we are spending 80% of our time on web, and only 20% on non-web PC or non-web mobile things. So mobile apps are gaining ground rapidly. Multiple platforms, but there is no monopolistic winner. Like on PC, we had Windows as the monopolistic winner, but here on mobile, we don't have a monopolistic winner. So we need a solution which can allow us to port our games on different platforms. So something was needed to liberate us from the monopoly of Flash, Adobe, and something was needed which united everyone. So HTML5 is the technology which unites all platforms, and the good thing is that BB10 has the best support for HTML5 in the world. So what is HTML5 technically? So HTML5 has 2D canvas. So 2D canvas is a very good API because it's based on the Apple's COTS API, and it has a lot of features. We have local storage, offline apps, we have audio capabilities, video capabilities. We have even support for threads using web workers. We have integration with OpenGL in form of WebGL. We have 60 frames per second support on PC, and even on BB10, like we sometimes get 60 frames per second. So general impression is that web is not a serious platform, but that's wrong, because the way HTML5 is improving, web has become a serious platform. So most famous 2D games on Facebook as of now use Flash, Adobe Air, but things are changing. Recently, like Zynga had bought a company which is a specialist in HTML5. So like the industry bigwigs are also spending money on HTML5. HTML5 wants to change that, and that's why I'm here. So excellent 2D graphics in form of Canvas APIs. Canvas in BlackBerry supports hardware acceleration, so we have very fast Canvas. Even Playbook version 2 supports the hardware acceleration of Canvas. We now have 3D capability using WebGL, and the good thing is BB10 is the only platform which supports WebGL from day one. So right now the competitors are not supporting WebGL, but BB10, I published personally around 10 apps which were having some parts of WebGL. BlackBerry 10 is the first major platform, so we should go out and build using WebGL from day one. So I have seen the future, and the future is HTML5. So key issues in HTML5 gaming. So the main thing which confuses most of the people when they start HTML5 gaming is the DOM, document object model. And the document object model allows us to work with HTML, JavaScript, CSS. And this trio basically is what generally confuses most of the C, C++, Java programmers, because like people who are into Java, generally they use Java for programming. People who are using C, C++, they generally stick to one language. And when they come to the web, they have to use a mix of HTML tags, JavaScript, CSS. So obviously it creates some issues, but once you are able to start using web programming, things become very easy for you. Then animation is a tricky thing because like you don't have a built-in editor for HTML. 5. So animation, although not very difficult to do, but like it's something which you have to think how you have to do. Then we do the game loop. So there are two options for the game loop. Either we can have a timer, or we can have a request animation frame, which is a new API for very, very fast performance. And it also helps us to synchronize the CSS, the JavaScript into one. Then we have to choose between 2D and 3D. So if you want to do 3D, you need WebGL. And the good thing is that BlackBerry 10 supports WebGL. But the unfortunate part is that right now on HTML5, the tool support is a little less using WebGL, because WebGL is a very, very new thing. But the good thing is that because it's a new thing, it's an open frontier. You can go and dominate it. Tracking user inputs. So it's simple, same mouse events, touch events which are there on a web page. We can use them. We have audio. We have a very simple audio tag which we can use, and then we have frameworks. So DOM is basically the document object model. Web browser is a software, basically we all know that, for managing and rendering web documents. So the good thing is that HTML5 is the first class citizen in a web browser. Whether we use Air, we use Flash, we use any other thing, those are not the first class citizens on the web browser. So we can use HTML5, HTML plus JavaScript plus CSS for manipulating DOM. And some tasks can be done by any of these or by any two of these. So it's a bit confusing in the beginning, but after that you feel that some things are very easy using CSS. Some things are very easy to do using JavaScript. Some things are very easy to do using the HTML tags. So C, C++, Java programmers generally find, like I was into Java before HTML5. So initially it's a bit difficult, but once you cross that, it becomes very easy, because JavaScript is a very, very good language. So, and there is some lack of documentation, but you always have W3 schools and you have lot of websites. You can just search and go to those websites. So we have no specific high-level support for animation in Canvas or WebGL. We don't have an animation API. But what we have is, we have APIs for drawing images. So we have APIs for drawing images, and we can use that we can use the timer or the request animation frame along with the image APIs for creating animation effects. CSS3 also supports some animation effects. So people who are knowing CSS, they can use CSS3 for animation effects. This is a URL on my website. We have got 60 frames per second on PC, and we have used Firefox and Chrome for testing this, and we got 60 frames per second. And so a frame rate of 60 is the benchmark which people are putting for HTML5, and BlackBerry also has this benchmark in mind. So once you have 60 frames per second using HTML5, what is the need for native? Because 60 is the maximum refresh rate of the hardware. So obviously in native you cannot improve the performance beyond 60. So even for game loop, there is no specific API for game loop. Some of the frameworks, some of the platforms like PlayStation, etc., they have support, like Xbox, etc., they have support for game loops. But here, what I was telling, that we can either use timer APIs, or we can use request animation frame API for getting very fast performance. And request animation frame API is a new API. It basically puts the execution at the time of the repaint of the browser. So whenever the browser repaints its window, our code gets repainted. So that's why we are able to synchronize the CSS effects, we are able to synchronize the JavaScript effects, and we get a refresh rate of 60. So Canvas is great for 2D. It's based on Apple's COTS 2D API, and some platforms only support hardware accelerated canvas, and BlackBerry supports hardware acceleration wholeheartedly. 3D can be done using WebGL. WebGL is a JavaScript manifestation of OpenGL ES, and it uses the GPU, and BlackBerry 10 has an excellent GPU. So we can use BlackBerry 10 to develop WebGL applications and games. I have tested personally WebGL content on BlackBerry 10 Dev Alpha B, and the performance was quite good. It was in fact unexpectedly very good, because generally you don't expect mobile platforms, and that to a beta device, to give very good performance. So Canvas is easy. WebGL is a bit difficult, because in WebGL most of the calls are like OpenGL ES, so they are low level native calls. So for JavaScript programmers, WebGL is difficult. But the good thing is that we have frameworks like 3.js and some other frameworks which allow us to use WebGL without lot of hardcore programming. We have to just like use simple JavaScript to create spheres and other geometry. So tracking user events. So we have mouse events, key events, touch events. So touch allows us to use multi-touch. There is no inbuilt support for gestures in HTML5. That is one area where currently it is lacking, but some of the frameworks give us those gestures, or we can create our own gestures. Like when I first started gesture-based applications, I thought like without the native support for gestures, it would be very difficult. But like when I started creating apps, what is a flick? Just simple mouse down and mouse up, and you have to just calculate the speed and the direction. So if you develop your own code for gestures, it's not that difficult. It just feels that it's very difficult, and some of the companies like who started these gestures, so they have done a big work, but technically it's not that big to create your own gestures. So BlackBerry 10 does support motion sensing also. In fact, yesterday, like I got the BlackBerry limited edition device, and I was seeing with my friend, and it has a very good compass application using motion sensing, and it was very, very good. And BlackBerry has very responsive user support for user inputs. In fact, some of the apps which we were testing on PC, we just copy pasted them using WebWorks, and they ran without even any change in code. In some of the competing platforms, you have to change some of the user input code to make it work properly. But in BlackBerry 10, you don't have to make any change. The same mouse events work properly on BlackBerry 10. Then we have no special support for gaming like native platforms, but you have a lot of frameworks which you can use for this. Audio. HTML5 supports the audio tag. Audio tag is a very simple tag for using audio. It gives us only the basic playback support. For gaming, some people feel that we need mixing and we need 3D audio. All those things are coming using Web Audio API, but right now none of the platforms around the world support Web Audio API, none of the mobile platforms. But BlackBerry has this thing on its radar, and BlackBerry 10 would be one of the first platforms to have Web Audio API in it. But using even the normal audio tag, we are able to develop normal games. We are able to develop games. So even you don't require mixing, etc. in many games. So lot of gaming and animation frameworks are there. We even have Box 2D. So we have for in-game physics, we have Box 2D. We have competing versions of Box 2D in JavaScript. So then we have 3.js, which is the most popular framework in WebGL. Adobe is also supporting a few frameworks like Easel.js. You can also create in-house frameworks. For example, my organization has created an open source in-house framework, and the name of the framework is SKJ App Framework. And I also run a community called Open Class in India, and we are basically gathering professionals and students who are willing to create apps, and we are basically channelizing their energies into creating high quality apps. So one of the things which we have used for creating our own BB10 and other HTML5 apps is this framework, and it is open source. So basically the framework is currently under development, but because it's open source, you can you can add more features to it. And I would show you a demo of a game which we have built using it. It's a simple game, but it's live on the BlackBerry world. So we have published more than 20 games using this. So now we come to why HTML5 is the winner. So web pages are basically documents, and documents are basically rendered using the document object model. So if you use Air, Flash, or any other technology, or even the plugins, you don't have the native access to document object model. What you have here is that using HTML5, you can natively access the browser's document object model. You are a first class citizen of that. And then there is a seamless support for JSON. As we all know that if we want to integrate with Facebook, we integrate with some of the Google APIs, Google Plus, and Twitter, etc. All the web services are based on JSON. And if we try to use JSON on other platforms, maybe Air, maybe Java, C, C++, the JSON support is not very integrated. Like you have a lot of third-party libraries using JSON, but generally you don't get that feel which you get in JavaScript. In JavaScript, using JSON is just second nature. So REST and AJAX are very easy using HTML5. CSS is seamlessly integrated, so you can get high quality animations, you can get some of the effects. There is a library which BlackBerry actively supports called Alice.js. So it has lot of effects. You can use those libraries in HTML5. So HTML5 is a clear winner here because integration with web content is very, very robust and it's very easy. BlackBerry 10 has the best support for HTML5, so we don't have any issue here. But even iOS and Android don't have built-in support for Flash and Air. So we all know like who is behind the what WG and HTML5 specification, we all know. So even iOS and Android, they have good support for HTML5. Smart TVs support HTML5. Even the new TVs by Sony and other companies, they are having HTML5 support. Cars, last time I was in JAM America and BlackBerry showed a Porsche car, and in that HTML5 was running. And even BlackBerry is thinking of a app store with car vendors for car apps. So HTML5 is going into TVs and cars also. So you want your apps to go into everything. So, and the good old PC supports HTML5 wholeheartedly. And to know HTML5 compliance of your device, you can just go to html5test.com and you will get out of 500 marks, your device will get the marks, how much HTML5 compliant it is. So I will now show you a demo of a game. Can you show your friend to go here? Yes. Can you take a photo from there? So I will show you a demo of Math Water Balloons, a small game created by us. So this is using our framework in HTML5. So this is a simple e-learning game where we want to give a animated feel to a student who of first or second grade to practice simple addition, subtraction. So I just go to an option and see I throw. So now I throw on the correct answer and see. So this is a very simple game, and this is fully HTML5 based and using our framework. So, and the game goes on, and you can, like, the student does not, student feels very refreshed after playing this, unlike the paper assignments where after 5 questions he feels sleepy. So, so this game is currently available on BlackBerry 10. It has been built by Skido's Learning. So, do you have any specific question related to HTML5?
Yes. How much time take you to make?
See, because we have the framework ready, it took just 1 week to create this game.
1 week?
1 week.
1 week to make?
1 week, because I did not create it. The programmer was not a hardcore programmer, he was just a graphic designer. A graphic designer created the graphics, and he also wrote the code. Because JavaScript is a relatively simple language, so graphic designers can code themselves.
But 1 week of dedicated?
Not dedicated, but you can say around 30 hours of coding and 30 hours of development time.
As I understood correctly, this game uses HTML5 and Flash.
No, this is purely HTML5.
Because you said that HTML5 and Flash emote. So
No, basically my friend would be showing a Flash demo. So earlier we were thinking of showing the same game on Flash and HTML5. So,
How many frames per second?
so on PC we get 60 frames per second for this game.
On which system?
On a normal it's not a very heavy performance machine. It's a very it's a Core 2 Duo. Core 2 Duo with Chrome.
And in the
On BlackBerry, I have tested on the Dev Alpha, not on the Z10, but we get around 25-30 frames per second.
25.
Yes. So generally animation is done using 24 frames per second, so we get that output. But BlackBerry does have 60 frames per second in mind. And also I have not tested this on Z10 because I got it just yesterday, but I hope it should be better on Z10. Yes. So I would like to call my friend, and we can have a formal Q&A after he finishes it.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Hello, I'm here. Yeah, next one. Okay, hello to all. My name is Javier D'Accorso, and thank you very much coming here after breakfast. Sorry, not breakfast, lunch. I know it's hard, but we are doing games, so let's make this entertainment. So first of all, I will tell you a story of Flash. I mean, everyone knows Flash, and Flash starts in 1996, which I call Future Splash. And after a while, it's called in AS3 in 2009. And the thing is, what's up now? Because people start thinking, okay, Flash is dead. And it's really dead, that's the thing. It's really dead, Flash. I saw this picture, I love it. I mean, is Flash dead? What should we do? We have to start learning another language, or can we keep using Flash for games? And the answer is no, at least for me, not for him, at least for me, it's more alive than ever. And I will start telling you why we can keep using Flash, keep using AS3, what's quite different Flash between AS3 or Air. And wait. This is a couple of pros I have been finding. First of all, we have years of experience. What does it mean? Since 1996, a lot of people start using Flash. So we have a big community. That means that we have a lot of people using this kind of tools. And it's really, really, really easy and really fast to create stuff. And the last one is really important. I mean, the performance is good if you know how to use it. What does it mean? Because Flash or AS3 or Builder is really, really easy. People start using in not such a great way, so they could do anything, and it's going to work, but the performance is not going to be good. So you have to know what are you doing. So if you know what you're doing, the performance is going to be great, and it's going to be really easy, and it's going to be really fast. So that is an example I used to say. So if you have a screw, you could grab a hammer, you put over there, and puff, really hard, and it's going to be inside. I don't know if it's the best way, but you could do it. But if you have a screw, maybe you have to use a screwdriver. That's the thing I always tell to people. If you want to make a game, maybe you could use HTML5, or you could use the right tool. I mean, you know how to use it. Could be good. So this is a word. You had to know it. First of all, fast to create games. You could create a game so fast with AS3. Nice performance. I mean, it's really good performance. It's not the best. I could tell you to you that it's not the best performance. You could have to go native. You could go to do another stuff. You could have the best performance you're looking for. But the performance is good. If you're doing a great game, you could do a great performance with AS3. Good use of CPU. I mean, you could use a graphic process unit in a really good way if you know how to use it. Good to use sounds and multiple sounds. What's up with me is that there are a lot of games. They have a lot of sounds. You need to start calling a lot of sounds at the same time. And sometimes it's difficult with different architectures. With Flash, it's so easy, so fast. You just call it. It's there. Record sounds mean that I will love, at least I have a couple of games I would love to show you that I record sounds. So it's really hard if you try to use some kind of games that you're using to record sound. For example, of course, all for you know Tom the Cat, that you say it and it's repeat you. If you want to do that in different frameworks on HTML5 or different stuff, it's almost impossible, and it's a piece of cake if you're doing AS3. Good use of camera, of course. Now you could work with 3D graphics with Stage 3D, so it's going to be quite easy and quite simple. You have a lot of frameworks right now. And smooth movement. It means that you could do nice stuff, and it's not going to do like, it's going to do it smoothly, and you could do nice stuff. So a lot of people start telling me, OK, but you're doing AS3. I have an open source platform, for example, HTML5. And you could use AS3 as an open source platform. For example, the SDK is Apache, so you could download. You could use, for example, Hacks ANR. That's another way to use ActionScript, and it's really, really good. I mean, you could try it. It's not Adobe, it's another stuff, but it's more or less the same semantics, so you could use it. You can have a free editor like Flash Develop. If you try, it's awesome. It's really good. You have a lot of engine and frameworks that they are open source, and you have maybe half of your work done. For example, these are a lot of game frameworks. It's not just a framework, it's a game framework. I don't know if you know Pixel, or you Flashpunk, or you have like isometric engines, physics engines. Of course, Box.d is made up for such a long time. Particle engines. You have a lot of stuff that you could use in your games. And it's just grab it, use it, open source, easy, fast. That's the thing I'm looking for. So, and other people say, you know, you're doing S3, but it's not working on iPhone. It's not working on Android. And I can say, yeah, it's working. If you know what are you doing, it's going to work perfectly. So you know what are you doing. You could export, for example, Flash Builder to iOS in 1 second. Just compile. You train the API, and it's going to be done. The same with Android. You know, I have a game that they made for the playbook, and say, I have a friend that's had the Kindle, and said, you know, I love your game. Why don't you give me your game? And I find out that the Kindle have the same size as the playbook. So I just compiled the game. I give it to him, and it was playing at the same time, in the same moment. So it's like, wow, that's impressive. I did not have to change anything, and it was working. Of course, BlackBerry. You could find a lot of BlackBerry games that they are made with AS3, and of course, web. The games right now on web are made on Flash, are made on Air, and if you go to Facebook, every game is made on that platform. So one thing I would like to show you is that there are a lot of people that they made a lot of games in web, and maybe right now they're saying, OK, I would like to port that game to mobile. So I would like to show you my Little Horse of the Sea. So this game is a game I made for web. And it's a cute game, at least I like it. And it's using a physics engine like Box3D, a lot of graphics, a lot of stuff. Right now, I will show you this game over here, and you will see the performance that this game could have. This one? Yeah, over here. So, for example, you could you could use, for example, sounds, graphics. I'm really good, you have to know that. And you are listening, for example, multiple sounds at the same time. You're using a graphics model. You are seeing a different stuff. And the game also is fun. That's the most important part. Maybe you have everything, but the game is boring. I will not bore you anymore with this one, but you could play after if you want. So the thing is, how can you make this game? And the things I need to notice doing this game is this 4 stuff. First of all, the size of the screen, because the game was made for computers, for web. I have to realize that the screen of different platforms, at least Playboot, at least BB10, is different. So right now, there are different ways to do it. This is one easy way to do it if you have, for example, a game on web, something like this. First of all, you will need to do is take the width of the device, take the height of the device, and simply take the ratio. This is a simple, easy way to then, with the ratio, change the objects of the screen. Of course, there are some times that it's going to be ugly, it's going to be awful, you just need to change a bit. But at least in this way, with this game, I changed this so easy and so fast. Another way to do it is like to make it floating. That's another way. It could be even easier because it's going to be done. But if you have your game like structure, this is a nice way to do it, an easy way to change it. So another way is the touch screen. When I was using web, I had like semicircle that you touch over there with the mouse, and then you're going to manage the direction of the ball. When you're grabbing it in a screen, you don't want to touch in such a small place, so you have to touch in the whole screen. That was a piece of cake. You just change where is the place that you're touching, and the changing was like half an hour to do it. Another way is the performance, and that's something really, really important because Flash AS3 is really, really easy to do it. You're going to do this. What does it mean? That you could hide a layer and you will have something like this. This is the way to kill a software, a way to kill a game. If you're doing this, your game is going to be extremely slow. So how are you going to manage this? For example, in every game engine, you cannot do this. You have just the sprites, you just have the PNGs. So the only way to have a great performance game, at least on mobiles, is to do a sprites. It means that I can export that straight from Flash. For example, you export a PNG sequence, and you could also upload it again. And the performance of the game is going to rise so much that you cannot believe it. So this is one of the most important things, because the performance of the game is really important. You don't want to play a game that is looking like. So you have to realize this, and it's really important to notice. Another thing is that you could use the CPU of the device. So it's really, really, really easy. You just need to go to the XML file of the application and change this, random mode CPU. That's it, that's all. No more than this. You could have auto, CPU, or direct. I was using auto. It means that the device will find out automatically what kind of performance should use in every moment. I don't recommend that. Sometimes the CPU way could destroy games. I don't know why, but there are some moments that the game is not working properly. So you have to realize changing this and try. Time to port. I grabbed a web game, I port to mobile. Okay, I would like you help me. For how long do you think I have been working? I need you, come on, share with me. How much?
10 minutes.
Okay, you are not my guy. Okay, how much? How many hours do you think? 2 hours? Come on, you're an expert. Okay, he's an expert. Okay, for me it was 24 hours. And I was really happy. 3 days, I have a web game port to BB10. And for me at least, it was not 2 hours, 10 minutes. It was really fast. That means that I have a game I made for web, and I have the same game on BB10. And that's really amazing for me. So this is a great tool to make games. So I have another success case. I don't know if you know this. It's on the BB10, and I'm really happy to be the father of this parrot. So what I will show you, that's a game entirely made for BB10. The first time was for Playbook and then for BB10. And it's a game that you could use all the hardware of your device. What does it mean? I will show you. Let's see. For example, you could grab your device and start using the accelerometer part. So you could do something like, you have to look at me also. I'm moving my device, and the ship is moving. Oh, sorry, I will put in English because I told the screen, but I will put in English so everyone could notice. So, and then I could start using all the device, all the stuff you could find in a game. For example, touchscreen. You could start using like funny stuff, like for example, and I'm moving this with my finger. Then, for example, I could use like big screen and touching. Or I could use different stuff I could make with this, for example. I could have like a painting, and at least my niece love this part. You could paint all the part with different colors. And something you could do that's, at least for me, was really interesting is start playing with the microphone. So something like this, I'm saying, "Hi, how are you doing?" Oh, it's not working. Hi. Okay. Hello. Okay, now I'm working now. But I will show you later, no problem. So there are different stuff you could play. At least this one was quite easy to do it. And everything was done on air, and so far it was really, really easy to do it. It could be like impossible to do something like this on different platforms, at least for me, because we did this like in 1.5 months. So it was really, really easy, not knowing the technology, not knowing how to work in Playbook. So I really recommend you that. So what I'm trying to say is that red versus green, what does it mean? Is that you could grab like an apple really red, that's really, you know how to use it, or grab something that you don't know what's up with that. I mean, you could do something green, you don't know if it's going to work or yes, or grab something that came from a long time ago and you know how to work it. It means that you have 18 years of experience of AS3. It's the fastest language to develop games. And I mean, no TV, no cars, you're doing games on mobile. I mean, I don't care if you could grab HTML5 and you put it on your car. Perfect, I love it, but I'm doing games on mobile. I prefer to use something that's going to be good to mobiles. If I want to do another stuff, I will do it. You could use HTML5 in AS3, so you could use also stuff from HTML5. And it's going to be great, but in a couple of years, not now. Sorry to say you that. So I'm not like, that's not my hand. I mean, I'm not had that in my hand. I'm not like a tattoo of Flash. But I also do not have a tattoo in my neck. I mean, it means that you have to use a language as a tool, and don't love it, just use it. I mean, you have to grab what's best for you and grab it in that moment, and that's going to be great for you. So thank you very much, and I'm here for your questions to answer you. Any question? Yes?
How much time take you the first game?
The first game, he's saying how much time do it take me to do the first game. Are you talking about mobile or are you talking about web?
No, the web version.
The web version. The web version was more or less like 1.5 months. Yeah. And the mobile version was 3 days, so it was really, really easy. Yeah. And the good part is, I mean, that game has at least 10 or 12 levels, so the hard part was more that the graphics and not the web part. Such using a great platform, for example, I was using Box 2D, so all the physics was a piece of cake to do it. Great. So I had to start changing stuff, but it was really, really easy to do it.
And Perico Pirata?
Perico Pirata, as I said before, was 1.5 months to do it. So, and in that game, I was trying to show what you can do with the hardware. What can you do? I was not able to do it over there, I don't know why, but you could tape your voice and then you could record the voice and then make it sound again. You could paint, you could use the accelerometer, you could do a lot of stuff, and it's really, really easy to do it in air. Perfect. Any other question? At least for my friend HTML5? Okay, if there is no question, thank you very much. I'm here for helping you.
I have one question to
Okay.
the audience. How many of you are game developers? And which platforms do you use? Flash.
Vamos! Come on! Okay, are you going to do games on HTML5 or Air?
So is it just because you have an ID, you have a editor, or like it's just?
No, for me actually it's because it's easy to get the project all together. I am an engineer in systems, and I tried HTML5, and I tried Silverlight and other products, and I stuck with Flash for the facilities. It's a paid product, but you get a full package and full support of the company. That's, I think, is a good thing.
Okay.
Also, you can design much more easy. I'm a designer. It's easy to make the animation and stuff. And of course, then if you want performance, you have to do what you say.
Yeah.
But if you don't need performance, like web, you do it as you want, and then you have to port it. We make games and then we port them to Flash in like 10 minutes. That's why I said 10
Yeah.
minutes, because when you are fast making and you know how
Yeah.
to port one, then you can
Yeah,
everything.
yes, perfect.
At least some
See, my experience has been that like if you are a good programmer in HTML5, it does not take a lot more time than Flash. Like that person took 30 hours in my company to create that game. If I had created that, I could have created in 6 hours.
Sure.
So
I
and
believe everyone in
but I know, yes, you
everyone is good at what he makes.
Okay, guys, thank you very much. Let us show this. As I said before, if you want to talk, we are happy to tell you. So
we are happy to help you in case you
Yes, of
have
course.
any questions. Even afterwards, you can write email to us.
okay, or maybe
Yes.
drink a beer after, no problem.
Sure.
So thank you very much again. Okay.
Okay.